I believe in Hashem, I trust in Hashem. There never is a moment when that I am alone and I'm on my own. I believe and I trust in Hashem, because I understand that He's holding my hand, and every step is perfectly planned. He's holding me tight, so I'll be all right. I believe and I trust in Hashem. We are now finding ourselves in very special days. It's the days when the Frierdiker Rebbe returned home from Kostroma. As you've already heard, on Yud Beis Tammuz, the Frierdiker Rebbe was told the good news that he is free. And on Yud Gimel Tammuz, he was given the official papers so that he can go home. When the Frierdiker Rebbe came home, it was such a great simcha by everyone. On Shabbos, the Frierdiker Rebbe benched Goimel and also said the second Maimer, Baruch HaGoimel L'Chayavim Tovos. He also said the Maimer, Se'u Yedechem Kodesh, by the big Seudah. I'm soon going to tell you more about that Maimer. But first, I would like to continue and finish the story that we began on Yud Beis Tammuz about the Frierdiker Rebbe when he was 11 years old. As you remember, he was on his way home from Cheder with his friend Shimon when they saw how a policeman, an Uradnik, slapped Reb David in the face and made his nose bleed. And the Frierdiker Rebbe screamed at him and pushed him away. But the Frierdiker Rebbe ended up in jail for that. He was in this dark room, and what did he do there? Even though there was a calf in the room that was making scary noises, he did what a Yid is supposed to do. He said Mishnayos. Luckily, he knew a lot of Mishnayos by heart. He also davened Mincha. And after he davened Mincha, something very special happened. You can imagine. Yes, the guard came to let him out free, as we're going to see now in the next part of the story. Here is how the Frierdiker Rebbe continues to tell this story about himself. After Mincha, I continued to say Mishnayos Zraim by heart. But then suddenly, I hear this noise again. Ooh, and like someone who's struggling. I really didn't know what to do. My knees were shaking. It was so dark I couldn't even see what was going on. But then I remembered that I had something that belonged to Shimon, my friend. You remember I was walking home with Shimon? While we were walking home, he showed me a pack of matches that he bought for his brother Leib. He put it into my hands, and just then is when the whole trouble started. So the matches ended up by me. So I have Shimon's matches now. So I took one match, I lit it to see what's going on. So that's where the noises are coming from. I see in the corner of the room a calf who's tied up with ropes and a muzzle on the mouth. No wonder the calf was making those noises and struggling to get freed. Now I felt more relaxed knowing where the noises were coming from. When I finished Seder Zrayim, I went on to Seder Moed. But before I had a chance to finish Seder Moed, I heard footsteps coming towards my cell room. The door opens, and who's there? The officer, the one who brought me in here, the one who gave me a smack and pulled me by my ear, and he says, "Oh, excuse me, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize who you are. I didn't know that Raza is your uncle." Raza was the Rebbe Rashab's brother. His older brother was called Reb Zalman Aharon. And in short, they used to call him Reish Zayin Aleph Raza, for the name Reb Zalman Aharon. And even the Goyim Lahavdil used to call him by that name, Raza. He says, "I didn't know you're the Raza's nephew." So I want you to know that the chief of police, the Pristav, just arrived at the police station. And he gave orders that I should free you from the room. But I want to beg you for a favor. Please, don't tell anybody that I gave you a slap in the face and that I pulled you by your ear. Believe me, I didn't do it out of hatred. I just have such a habit. And anyways, your nose didn't bleed. Your teeth didn't fall out. So big deal. Now, if he told Yosef Yitzchak not to tell anybody, how come we know about it? You know why? Because if somebody tells you to keep a secret, something that he did to you, that you're uncomfortable with, and he says, "Don't tell anyone," what are you supposed to do? Exactly like Yosef Yitzchak. You're supposed to tell. Yes, you tell your parents, tell your teacher, tell someone in charge. No one has the right to make you feel uncomfortable. And if someone does, you should tell. Especially if he tells you, "Don't tell anyone." And even more especially if he says, "If you're going to tell, you know what I'm going to do to you?" You're not supposed to listen. You're supposed to do what the Frierdiker Rebbe did. Now everybody knows what he did with the Frierdiker Rebbe because he told. It's important. Remember that. Everyone deserves to feel comfortable all the time. And if anyone bothers you or disturbs you or does something uncomfortable, tell about it. So when he freed me from the room, I walked straight into the office of the Pristav, the chief of police. And guess who was standing there? 4 people. Reb David the butcher, who had a boo-boo on his nose, on his face, because the guy slapped him. The officer who slapped him, the Uradnik, was there. You know who else? 2 Yiddish witnesses. Reb Yoel, the smithy, and Reb Shaul, the wagon driver. They witnessed how this happened, and they came to tell the chief of police. So right now, the chief of police is dealing with it. Why the officer gave Reb David a slap in the face. "What do you say?" he asked the Uradnik. "What do I say? You know what Reb David did? You know why I had to slap him? Because he's a thief. He stole something." What did he steal? The calf that he was carrying on his shoulder? That didn't belong to him. That belonged to another butcher. You know Meir the butcher? That belonged to him. Meir bought a calf from my brother, who sold it to him. And then this David takes it away and steals it and puts it on his shoulder. And I tried to take care of it by slapping Reb David on the face. And this boy disturbed me from doing my job, and he ripped off my copper badge. The Pristav looks up at the 2 witnesses, says, "And what do you say?" What do we say? Reb David is an honest man. He wouldn't steal anything. The calf he was carrying on his shoulders was his own, that he bought from his own money. We know that. While they're in the middle of speaking, the door of the office opens, and in walks Mr. Zilberbrod. He was a helper, an assistant for Drazah, the Frierdiker Rebbe's uncle. He comes in and gave a note to the Pristav, and the Pristav reads it, and he says, "Okay, Mr. Zilberbrod, you can take this boy home. He's free. He's not getting any punishment. He's totally innocent." As I left the police station, I see all my friends are waiting for me there. So I went with them and we walked to go home. My family actually sent their wagon to go bring me home, but I wanted rather to go with my friends. And I told them the whole story. When Mr. Zilberbrod heard what I said, that there is a calf in the jail room that's tied up with a muzzle, you know what he did? He ran to Reb Meir the butcher and got Reb Meir to come straight down to the police station. And he found the Pristav, the chief of police, dealing with Reb David and the officer, the Uradnik that slapped him. So Reb Meir the butcher right away said to the Pristav, "Excuse me, I just want you to know that in the jail room where the boy was sitting, do you know what's there? There is a calf that's tied up and with a muzzle." When the Pristav heard this, he jumped up, he got very, very angry. I was busy playing cards with my friends, and now I have to come here to the police station and take care of this? The Pristav called the one in charge of the police station and said, "Come, let's take a look in the jail room and see if there is a calf there." And everybody went to follow. Meir the butcher, David the butcher, the two witnesses, Yoel and Shaul, they all went to follow the Pristav to see what's doing in the jail room. And you can imagine the shock and the surprise that they had when the Pristav found out that it was true. They saw that Meir was right. The Pristav immediately made an investigation, and you know what they found out? That the Uradnik and his brother stole the calf from Reb Meir. And they took the calf and put it in the jail room and tied it up. And they wanted to say that David was stealing the calf. Wow. For such a thing, the officer got punished. The Uradnik got punished. Now the Uradnik was put into the jail for a whole week. And later he had to stand trial. And they found out that he did other bad things. And they told him, "Let me have your badge. You're no longer officer. We're taking this away from you. You can't have this job anymore." And he lost that job. And by the way, my friends told me that it took about 5 hours until the Pristav was found. See, when the whole story happened, everyone was looking for the Pristav, the chief of police. But he was busy playing cards with the Paritz Azmidov in the house of Dr. Yarmakov. That's why it took him so long to get to the police station. When my father came back from his trip, my uncle Deraza told him all about what happened with David the Teeth Man. He also told him how strong I was and brave I was to help a Yid. He also told him how I was able to help, that we should discover that Reb David was right and innocent, and that the officer who slapped Reb David was guilty, and that the calf was returned to Reb Meir. My father, the Rebbe Rashab, said to me, "It was very, very good what you have done, to stand up for a Yid, to respect a Yid, to care for a Yid. And even though, because of this, you had to sit in jail for a couple of hours, it's nothing compared to the greatness of what you accomplished. My father also told me, now you realize how special it is to study Mishnayos by heart. Because if you didn't know Mishnayos by heart, then while you're sitting in the jail room and not saying Mishnayos by heart, then what are you any better than the animal that's there? But now that you know Mishnayos, you learned Torah, you davened, that means that you spent the hours in jail with Divrei Torah and Tefillah. That's what's the advantage of you over the animal. My father's words left such a strong impression on me. I learned 3 important lessons. Number 1, to cherish and respect and honor every single Yid, no matter how rich or poor he is in Torah. Number 2, to be ready to stand up to protect the Yid, even if it puts you in danger. And number 3, to always have tzedel aderech, always to have some Torah memorized by heart in your mind, so no matter where you end up being, you can always say words of Torah. My father later gave me another 10 ruble and said, you can add this on to your 30 rubles of your Gemilas Chesed, so you could do more and more mitzvahs. We see in this story the Frierdiker Rebbe used every opportunity to do chesed, to help, to care for another person, even if it made him uncomfortable. And then when he had free time, he was learning Mishnayos by heart. The Rebbe gave us 12 psukim and Maimari Chazal. Whenever we have a chance, you're in the park, you're in the store, you're in the car, say it. It's going to bring you so many brachas. Like we learned in the beginning, what it says in Pirkei Avos, that afilo echad sheyoshev, even one person learning Torah, it brings all the brachas. And the most important bracha, the greatest bracha is Mashiach should come, especially, and the Rebbe tells us that it's our Chazal say that when you learn Mishnayos by heart, that brings Mashiach faster. Now, as we all know, the Frierdiker Rebbe was finally completely freed on Yud Gimel Tammuz. That was Wednesday. He traveled back. Friday was Tes Vav Tammuz. And on Shabbos, Tes Zayin Tammuz, the Frierdiker Rebbe said a Maimer Chasidus by the great Seudah, and the Maimer began with the words Se'u Yedechem Kodesh. About 35 years ago, the Rebbe made a Farbrengen on Tes Vav Tammuz. And the Rebbe said that it's a very good idea that we should learn the Maimer Se'u Yedechem Kodesh and learn at least a few lines of it by heart, especially the end. So I'm going to tell you what it says at the end of that Maimer. Over there it talks about midos tovos, about having good midos, good behavior, good feelings. You know, that's something that we work on very hard, to have a good midah, good character. And this is what it says there. It says that the whole thing of Chasidus, the whole avoida of Chasidus is that we should get rid of all bad behaviors and we should make only good things. We should have good midos. In fact, it says to do even more than that. To take the bad midah and turn it into good. How do we do that? Well, let's say, for example, a person has a bad midah, bad behavior. He likes to steal. So you know what he can do? he can steal time from his playing recess and sit down with Mishnayos. He can steal some money from his spending money that he was going to use to buy himself a cupcake and give it to tzedakah. Or steal some time that he was busy doing something and give the time to mommy to help his mother or father. That's using the midah in a good way. And in the Maimer it says that when we do so, this brings our midas upwards to Kedusha. And it brings down Kedusha from Hashem. It brings down Hashem's name should be revealed here in this world. And when Hashem's name comes down, it brings all good. You know why? Because Hashem's name is goodness, mercy, and all good. And there's actually a niggin that was put to these words. So if you learn the niggin, you will be doing the Hirah from the Rebbe by studying the few last lines of this Maimer by heart. Here are the words. V'zohi avodas hachasidus lehasir kol midah loy taiva levarera ulezachecha ulehaloisa lekodesh ha'elyon leyois gilui shem havaya ba'olam uvozeh mamshichim beracha ba'olam deshem havaya hu beracha verachamim v'chulay taiv. Sei gesund and stark. Try to study it by heart and remember the lesson from this story. Learn Mishnayos, the Gemilas Chesed, and remember that wherever you are, Hashem is with you. Seid gesund.